Are these POCO phones true flagships? They got much bigger batteries, charges faster, and might just take better pictures. But POCO is more known for mid-range phones, and this is only their second attempt to make a flagship at a more accessible price point. So can the POCO F8 Ultra and Pro really live up to the most popular flagships? I wanted to try it for myself, so I asked POCO for early access, and they sponsored this video. But all opinions are my own. I've mainly been living with the F8 Ultra, but I've also been trying out the F8 Pro, which is one tier below, but still part of their flagship lineup. So let's see how they compare. Starting with unboxing the POCO F8 Ultra. This denim look is definitely super unique. Other than that, you also get a cable and phone case right in the box. No charger, but I guess that's become the norm now. And now the POCO F8 Pro. They're calling this color titanium silver, and of course, it also comes with a cable and phone case. The POCO F8 Ultra definitely has some very interesting design aspects. When holding it in my hand, the rounded corners make it very comfortable, and the denim-like texture on the back is really grippy. But unlike real denim, this is still water resistant. You can see the water just rolls right off. The POCO F8 Ultra has quite a wide bump up here where the cameras are, which kind of reminds me of the iPhone 17 Pro Max. But instead of having nothing on the right side, there's this extra speaker. I'll definitely talk more about this later. The POCO F8 Pro's design takes after the F8 Ultra's design, also with the nice rounded edges and the wide bump. But there are quite a few differences. First being, you cannot get it with a denim-like texture. The back is POCO's first one-piece milled glass. The camera bump is glass instead of aluminum, and there's no additional speaker on the right side. Also, while these phones seem like they have 4 cameras, they both actually only have 3. The bottom right one contains some sensors, and on the F8 Pro, the flashlight as well. Perhaps this was done for aesthetics to make it look a bit more balanced. Overall, I like the design, but what I became more interested in is the software. These phones run the Xiaomi HyperOS 3, and it's really refined. The animations have great attention to detail behind them. Like, look at the control center opening, it comes in so smoothly, and the Bluetooth toggle even plays a little animation each time. There's also this thing, which they're calling the Hyper Island. Of course, it reminded me of the Dynamic Island on iPhones. However, I have to say, POCO's Hyper Island is very well implemented with these satisfying animations. In addition to that, even simple things like changing the lock screen has a really nice interface. Swiping up and down shows you different categories, and then you can swipe left and right to see more wallpaper options in each category. This has gotta be the nicest way to browse through wallpapers. And of course, there's a ton of customization options for the lock screen. But you also have the Themes app, which not only gives you themes, but also widgets, wallpapers, ringtones, and even fonts. I've seen some really cute themes in here, and they can be applied with just one tap. I also can't believe how many widget options there are. There's even this virtual pet one. If you use a Mac or any other Apple device and want to connect them with a POCO phone, you can use HyperConnect to share files, sync notifications, and so on. Now, going back to the speaker on the back of the F8 Ultra, it's definitely not just for show. It's the bass driver, and if you play some music, you can literally feel it pumping out the bass. This is POCO's first 2.1 channel architecture system with a subwoofer. The F8 Ultra definitely gives more bass than the typical phone. Here's what it sounds like next to the S25 Ultra. Both the F8 Ultra and F8 Pro's audio system is co-tuned with Bose. The F8 Pro doesn't have the extra bass driver, but it still has pretty strong bass. Here's what it sounds like against the S25 Plus. The POCO F8 Ultra is one of the first phones with the newest flagship processor from Snapdragon, the 8 Elite Gen 5. So I was really curious to see how it performs. Also, on the F8 Ultra, POCO uses what it calls liquid cool technology, which is their first 3D triple layer ice loop system that covers more than half the size of the back of the phone. On Antutu, it scored over 3.8 million, which is 28% faster than the S25 Ultra. This is running in its performance power mode though. Nevertheless, the new processor is very impressive and it's gonna be great for gaming. And this phone has quite a few features to further enhance the gaming performance. There's a Vision Boost DH chipset, which enables super resolution, smart frame rate, and game HDR to be on at the same time. That means a more detailed and contrasty game world and smoother frame rates. Now, on the F8 Pro, it uses the Snapdragon 8 Elite, which is still plenty fast and competitive against the S25 Ultra. And for both of these phones, you can enable Game Turbo and then also turn on Wild Boost optimization, which helps the phone achieve better frame rates, especially the 1% low frame rates. This is the dip that you feel the most in-game, so this can really help gaming performance feel more stable. But the craziest part about the F8 Ultra is how big the battery is. The S25 Ultra only has a 5,000 mAh battery, but the F8 Ultra has a 6,500 mAh battery, and combined with the new, more efficient processor, the battery life here is pretty crazy. I did a battery test with the POCOs up against the S25 Ultra and S25 Plus. After 2 hours of video playback, both the Samsungs use 14%, while the POCOs both only use 10%. So these phones can probably last up to 2 days on a single charge. But if you still somehow run out of charge, they both can be charged at up to 100 watt. The only somewhat strange thing is the Ultra supports wireless charging at 50 watt, but the F8 Pro doesn't support wireless charging at all. The displays on both POCO phones are super interesting and address the last weakness of a typical OLED screen. If you've ever tried looking at a text document on an OLED TV, you may have seen some pretty noticeable color fringing around the text. The letters never quite look as perfect as on a typical LCD monitor, and that's because OLED screens have these weirdly shaped RGB emitters, whereas on an LCD monitor, they're aligned neatly in a grid. This effect is less noticeable on higher resolution phone screens, but it's definitely still there. Both of these phones use a unique display tech called POCO Hyper RGB, which combines the best parts of OLED and LCD. The display is self-emitting, so you get the perfect deep blacks. But the RGB emitters are lined up into little squares with a full RGB subpixel structure, just like on an LCD. As a result, the text has cleaner edges and looks noticeably sharper. This display also has lower power consumption. The color rendering on these screens is also great. Here you can see the F8 Ultra side by side with the S25 Ultra and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Beyond that, both the F8 Ultra and Pro have very high quality screens at 1.5K and 120Hz. The F8 Ultra screen is just larger at 6.9 inches, while the F8 Pro screen is 6.59 inches. On paper, the F8 Ultra's camera system is very solid, so I wanted to test it against Samsung. It has 3 cameras, a main and ultra-wide, and the first periscope telephoto from POCO with 5x optical zoom. And all of them are high resolution at 50 megapixels. Also, the main sensor is huge. It's about the same size as the main sensor on the S25 Ultra. This is the debut of Light Fusion 950 sensor. Here's a night portrait taken with both of them, and I think the POCO actually looks better here. The portrait mode works well too. It looks natural, and the mask seems very clean even around my hair. POCO's software automatically does HDR enhancements, and it seems to help here. The F8 Ultra also has POCO's first periscope telephoto lens. Just like the S25 Ultra, it has 5x optical zoom. Since it's high resolution, even at 10x, it still looks pretty good. Next to the S25 Ultra, they're very close in terms of the overall look and detail captured. The only thing that isn't quite a matchup to the flagships is the ultra-wide camera. It looks fine in most cases, but it has a set focus, so you cannot get macro mode pictures, and if your subject is too close to it, it may be out of focus. The F8 Pro also has 3 cameras, a main, ultra-wide, and telephoto with 2.5x optical zoom. It's actually the first Pro model in the F series to have a dedicated telephoto camera. It doesn't have the biggest magnification on the zoom lens, but 2.5x is great for some portraits. Plus, it's 50 megapixels, so at 5x, you still get a 12 megapixel image. The main camera is also 50 megapixels, just like on the F8 Ultra, but it uses a slightly smaller sensor. Here are the 2 images side by side, and it holds up quite well even in this not super brightly lit environment. But the F8 Pro's ultra-wide camera is only 12 megapixels, which is the same resolution as on the S25 Plus. And here are their ultra-wide photos side by side. Also, both the POCO phones support dynamic photos with EIS, so you can have these photos that move, and I think it looks really fun. Overall, this is an impressive flagship lineup from POCO. I think they're successful in bringing all of the flagship features into a more accessible package with the F8 Ultra. And the F8 Pro, despite not having the latest hardware, is still very solid and well-rounded. These phones are priced below the other flagships and are great value for the performance. Plus, there are early bird pricing available, so go check them out at the link below. And I hope you enjoyed watching.